Open wide my heart. Open wide my heart.
Please join me as we go within and celebrate this intelligence in which we move and have our being. It is an intelligence of balance. It is divine, it is calm, and it is always changing, always showing itself anew in all situations and in all things. It is the divine presence that we feel in everything that we experience. It is the thing that created the world in which we live, the world of balance. It is an existence that can be celebrated because it is always assured, it can be trusted. And intuitively we trust it, knowing that the sun rises in the morning and goes down at night. Knowing that summer changes into fall, changes into winter, into spring. It is always assured and it is always change. Changeless change. I know that I live and move and have my being in this divine presence. It is within me, it supports me in everything that I do. So as I embrace change within my own existence, I affirm that this change happens in order to glorify this intelligence, in order for this intelligence to know itself in this human experience as my experience. So I invite change into my life, I embrace it, and I know that it is divine change. I do not have to have all the answers. I do not have to push and shove. I just have to breathe, knowing that as I strive for change, I am supported by this divine presence in everything that I do. It is my way of saying yes to love, yes to life, yes and yes. I am grateful for this understanding, and I am grateful for the ability to feel this divine support within me. I am grateful for all the beings here in this moment to support me in my change. I am grateful for this experience provided by the Calgary Center for Spiritual Living to support me in my change. So I rejoice, I release, I embrace life. I know that the divine intelligence accepts my word, acts on it, and returns to me multiplied, pressed down, and overflowing each time and every time. So I release in joy, and together we affirm. So it is.
Open wide my heart. 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 from that beautiful treatment and that beautiful song. I invite you to repeat with me our vision and mission statements. It's very important that we say this every week so that we embody it. It becomes who we are. So let's say this together. The Calgary Center for Spiritual Living is a beacon of spiritual illumination that inspires individuals to reveal their wholeness, co-creating a world that works for everyone. Two very salient points there. Beacon of spiritual illumination. Everybody go like this. Everybody go like this. Come play with me. And say, I'm a beacon of spiritual illumination. Thank goodness for that. Thank you. And let's say our mission statement together. The Calgary Center for Spiritual Living makes accessible a way of living and thinking that reveals one's spiritual magnificence and personal power. We co-create an inclusive community that fosters an expansion of consciousness. Go like this again. I'm a beacon of spiritual illumination. Woo! Yes. Thank you all so much. There was someone that I neglected to mention because I didn't see her sitting in the audience until just now, who was also part of our concert on Friday night, and that's Sonia DeLeo. So thank you, Sonia, as well. So our guest musician today is Martin Kerr, and he comes to us, he hails to us now from Edmonton. He's from some sort of British Isle or something like that prior to that. Martin is just a wonderful light. He's a wonderful consciousness. He is in town because he has a concert tonight at the Ironwood, and what he wants me to tell you is that you can call the Ironwood to reserve a table and then go to the concert tonight, and it's going to be, it doesn't start until after the Grey Cup. Yes, I made sure of that. And he does have CDs for sale. You are going to love him. The songs that he's doing are from his CD, so please welcome Martin Kerr.
Good morning, friends. It's so wonderful to see you all. This first song I'd like to share with you is called The Update, and it's a song about transformation. And I wrote this at a time I was feeling a bit lost. Sometimes the transformation we want to see in our lives and in the world around us that we're a part of can seem quite far off. Sometimes it seems like a really big leap, and there seem to be obstacles in our way. And so for anyone who's felt that way sometimes, this song's for you. It's called The Update. Computer wants to update a program. I always click on try again tomorrow, 'cause that's not what I need. The garden wants a weeding, the summer's almost over. I haven't got around to planting the seeds. What have I been waiting for all this time? What am I complaining for? The fault's all mine. I could cross that bridge if someone else would pay the toll. But won't somebody send an update to my soul? My phone, it wants to update the system, but I don't really trust it. It usually ends up slower than before. The politicians never stop campaigning. One day we're gonna bust them. We're capable of so much more. What have I been waiting for all this time? What am I complaining for? The fault's all mine. I'm sitting here just waiting for my youth to come again. I'll stop procrastinating, but don't ask me when. I could cross that bridge if someone else would pay the toll. But won't somebody send an update to my soul? I wanna feel you love me more than ever. I know I don't deserve it. I'm not the man I was back then. Skinnier and brighter and more hopeful. Is that the way you want me? I'm not sure if I can be that again. What have I been waiting for all this time? What am I complaining for? The fault's all mine. I'm sitting here just waiting for my youth to come again. I'll stop procrastinating, but don't ask me when. I could cross that bridge if someone else would pay the toll. But won't somebody send an update to my soul? Should you ever lose your sense of wonder, walk out to the ocean and sing out to the stars on high. And all the generations gone before you will hear you from the heavens. They'd help you if you'd only try. What have we been waiting for all these hours? And what are we complaining for? The remedy's ours. We're sitting here just waiting for our youth to come again. We'll stop procrastinating, we can't choose just when. We can cross that bridge, and only we can pay the toll. And only I can make an update to my soul. Only I can make an update to my soul. Thank you so much.
Martin Kerr. Between Martin's song and Pelly's treatment, I got nothing. You guys have basically told what I'm going to talk about today. That's okay. I have a joke that I'm going to tell you in a little bit that they wouldn't dare tell. Would you breathe with me, please? Take it in. And again. And one more time. That's one ways of making an update to your soul, is conscious breathing. When you breathe together, it's really something very healing about that. So I always appreciate you guys breathing. Well, breathing anyway, but breathing with me as well. So my talk title today is Change for Change, and that may actually sound a little familiar today, yes? Because I thought it would be clever to tie it in with the Change for Change, the piggy fertilizer thing that we got going on. And as I said before, I want to thank everybody for your generosity of spirit, and also your generosity in bringing in your change as well. And I'd like to acknowledge all the people who are involved in this program. If you are part of the Change for Change committee, would you please stand up so that we can acknowledge you? Now, come on, really do it. There's more than 2 people, I know. There were about 20 people out there today collecting money. So anyway, thank you all so much for that. I also wanted to talk about change today because we haven't talked about it for a while. And what we know is that change is good for us. It is part of our spiritual growth. It's part of our soul's evolution. And the bottom line is, folks, as Pelly said, things change. Things change. They have to. They have to. If things didn't change, we would still be living as little single-cell amoeba, or in caveman times, or in the Dark Ages, or still driving horse and buggies, or heaven forbid, living in a time before technology. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said this: "We are all living in a world of continual change, a world in which thought, thing, and experience are all in a constant state of flux. It is the very nature of the universe that there should be continual change and variation." In other words, change is normal, it is natural, and it is inevitable. But the thing about change is, most people don't like it. Most people don't want to do it, and everybody complains about it. Yes? Yes. So here's what Dr. Dennis Grady had to say about that. He said, "Change has a bad reputation in our society, but it isn't all bad, not by any means. In fact, change is necessary in life to keep us moving, to keep us growing, to keep us interested. I might add to that, and keep us interesting." Yeah? Mm-hmm. Imagine life without change. It would be static, boring, and dull. And intellectually we know this, right? Intellectually we know this. We recognize the need for change. We recognize the need to alter things and to adjust things. We recognize that change can make our life better. But if we are being perfectly honest with ourselves, what we really want is for the world to change, not us. Yes? Yeah? We really want the other guy to change, especially when it comes to relationships. Oh my God. I've asked this before. I always get busted with it. But seriously, how many of us have read the self-help book and highlighted and circled and underlined and sent it to the people we know that the book is good for? Or in these days of technology now, you see something on Facebook, and it's either a cat video or it's something that somebody else needs to see. Am I right? Yeah. But what we may not realize is that some of the passages that we've highlighted are actually applying to us every bit as much as somebody else. And we may think, well, no, I'm not the problem. He is. She is. They are. The rest of you people are the problem. I'm not the problem. And it may be true. It may be true, but ask yourself this. Does everyone in your life have to change in order for you to be happy? If so, then who is the common denominator? Who's the one who possibly needs to make an adjustment, to adopt a new attitude, to change a thought pattern? Leo Tolstoy, say that 3 times fast. Tolstoy says, everybody thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. And yet the truth is that any change is a change that comes from within, just like Pelly's beautiful treatment was and Martin's beautiful song. I need to make the update to my soul myself. That change has to come from within. So when I'm talking about change, I'm not talking about letting go of who we are, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm talking about changing how we think. Because basic science of mind will tell us that the people who are in our lives are a reflection of us. You get that, right? Yeah, that's cause and effect. That's the law of attraction. So if somebody is in your life, it's because they're reflecting back to you. So if we think that everyone around us needs to change, then maybe what we need to do is look inside of ourselves and make those necessary changes and those necessary adjustments. Probably the most famous quote of our teaching by Ernest Holmes is, change your thinking, change your life. Change your thinking, change your life. Another way of putting it is change your inside, and then the outside changes. How many have experienced that? Of course you have. It's our teaching. Change your inside, and the outside changes. Not your core, folks. Not your essence. Not the you that makes you you. Don't change that. I'm talking about those mistaken, negative, non-life affirming thoughts and beliefs that you have. I'm talking about, I'm going to use a word now that's going to make you freak out. So just get ready, okay? I'm talking about the sinful side of yourself. Let me explain. In this teaching, we don't talk about sin, but if we do talk about sin, it's not the kind of sin that many other faith traditions do as an immoral act that needs to be punished. Rather, when we talk about sin, which is not very often, trust me on that. Never mind, I was going to be inappropriate. Okay. When we talk about it, it's based on the ancient Aramaic language that was spoken during the biblical times. And in that language, the word sin is an archery term that means miss the mark. So when someone sinned using that term, it meant that their aim was off and they were missing their target, whatever that was. And they would continue to miss the mark unless they adjusted or changed their aim. Are you with me so far? Well, the same thing is true with our thoughts. We are sinning when we think and we believe things that are mistaken and negative and non-life affirming. Some of those sinful thoughts might be judgment, hatred, guilt, comparison, anger, jealousy, lack, unworthiness, victimness, blame. These thought patterns keep repeating over and over and over again, and we keep repeating patterns and life experiences over and over and over again until we adjust our aim, until we change our thinking. So there's this, in California we call them highway patrolmen. I don't know what they're called here, RCMP. I'm going to use highway patrolman because that's how I know it, right? There's a report, there's an accident on the road, and the highway patrolman pulls up, and the car is wrecked, and there's a person unconscious on one side, person unconscious on the other side, and the only thing left that was conscious was a little monkey, like a little organ grinder monkey, you know? And the highway patrolman goes up to the monkey, and he says, "Do you know what happened?" And the monkey says, highway patrolman said, "Well, what happened?" And the monkey says, "They were drinking? What else?" They were getting high? What else were they doing? They were smooching? That's terrible. What were you doing? I used to tell a joke every single Sunday. I haven't done that for a while, but I used to. That was a good one, hey? Yeah? Okay. Do you get that on tape? I want to make sure that's online. Okay. So there's another type of change that is particularly difficult to handle. And that's the change that we perceive is happening to us. Those unforeseen circumstances, life experiences, relationships ending, job loss, financial challenges, illness, any other outside influence that's causing a change in our life without our permission. Nobody likes going through those changes, nobody. And yet, we all have. Not only have we gone through them, but we have thrived through them. In the Bible, it says it came to pass, meaning it came to pass out of our lives. But we've all had those experiences that have been painful or have been difficult. And so the question is, how do we perceive those experiences when they happen? Do we see them as proof that life is out to get us and we live in an unfair, cruel world? Or do we ultimately see it as opportunities for growth? Because as I said, everything changes. We see change in nature all the time, and we don't question it. We don't feel victimized by it. We don't freak out. We're not resistant to the change of seasons if they were at least consistent. Little victimized here. But we're not frightened, as Pelly said, by the sunrise and the sunset. We don't become upset because the moon waxes and wanes. They're natural and normal changes. So if we recognize that that's true in nature, it's natural and it's normal, then what doesn't it stand to reason that's also natural and normal in our own lives as well? Yeah. So maybe those changes that have been thrust upon us, and we've all been through it, are actually what we need in order to evolve into our best selves. And yeah, we could pray for it to be easier and softer and all that other kind of stuff. But many times the challenge is part of the growth process. So I have a wonderful teaching story about a man who found a cocoon of a butterfly. One day he's watching it, and a little small opening opened up, and he watched for several hours as the butterfly struggled to force its body through that little hole in the cocoon. And then it seemed to stop making progress after a while. It appeared it had only gotten as far as it could get, and it wasn't going to go any further. So the man decided to help the butterfly. And he took a pair of scissors and he snipped off the rest of the cocoon. And then the butterfly emerged easily. But it had a swollen body and very, very small, shriveled wings. And the man continued to watch the butterfly, expecting that at any moment the wings would enlarge and the body would go down and it would be able to support the body, but it never happened. In fact, the butterfly spent the rest of its life crawling around with a swollen body and shriveled wings, and it was never able to fly. With the man in his kindness providing an easier, softer way, did not understand that that restricting cocoon and the struggle and the change required for the butterfly to go through that tiny opening was part of the growth process. It was nature's way of forcing the fluid from the body of the butterfly into the wings so then it could be ready for flight once it had escaped from the cocoon. Well, in our lives, struggles and changes are exactly sometimes what we need in our life. If we were allowed to go through life without any obstacles or any changes, it would cripple us. We would not be as strong as we need to be to live in this life, and we would never be able to fly. Nobody goes through this life unchanged. It just doesn't happen. We are here to learn and to grow and to evolve. And sometimes that learning is a struggle. But it is important for our growth and our evolution and our development, just like the butterfly, so that we can build those muscles. We can build what we need to go into whatever the next experience is. Not on the other plane, but whatever the next life experience here is. And so, depending on how we handle the changes, we can either let it defeat us. Anybody know somebody who's just allowed it to defeat them? Yeah. Or we can use it to strengthen ourselves. And then, once we've learned and allowed it to strengthen us, truly strengthen us, then the strangest thing happens. We begin to take on change on purpose as a means of consciously evolving our lives. You understand what I'm saying here? Making changes on purpose. That's where most of us here at this center are. Maybe crisis or transition brought us here to begin with, because who wouldn't want to come into this love fest when they were feeling bad, right? But most of us, what happens is that we begin to learn and we begin to grow and we get to a point where we are consciously choosing to change our thoughts, therefore change our experiences. We want to have a more spiritual, prosperous, happy, loving life, and we are willing to do the work to bring it about. Here's how Ernest Holmes put it. Each one of us today is the result of the use that he has made of the law, either consciously or unconsciously. As soon as we realize this, we shall see that what we are now is the result of what we have thought. The answer to what we shall be is contained in what we are now thinking, for we can change our thinking. Can I get an amen? Amen. You betcha. So change your thinking, right? What an easy slogan. Change your thinking, change your life. Woohoo! How? How do we change our thinking? Well, first of all, folks, we start out by becoming aware of what we're thinking and how we're thinking. Yes? We can't change it if we're not aware of it. Our beautiful foundations class, got 20-some people in our foundations class, and what they're learning to do is to check in every couple of hours to become aware of what their thought tendencies are. Just check in a couple of hours, because the truth is, unless we become conscious, unless we become aware of what it is that we're thinking, our habitual thinking takes precedence. You understand what I'm saying here? I don't want to say that maybe we got some lazy thinkers in this world, but the truth of the matter is, unless we are vigilant, unless we are disciplined, Pat, we often allow habit and those habitual thought patterns to take over. Anybody else? No? Just me? Yeah. So what some of the foundation students are doing, they're so smart. Students are so much smarter than I was 30 years ago when I started this teaching. Oh my gosh. And there's technology. I love technology. So what the students are doing now is that they're setting their phones. They're setting their clocks on their phones to just ding them about every hour, every couple of hours, and the message being, check in. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? What's the tendency of your thoughts? Ernest Holmes says it's not just one thought that takes you astray, it's the tendency of your thoughts. What is the tendency of your thinking? Because that's the first step. Figure out what you're thinking about. And then be willing to adjust those thoughts whenever we become aware of them. Change our thinking, change our life. That's the change we're talking about today. And we can't just talk about it. We have to do it. You understand? We have to do it. We have to do the things that we know make a difference in order to bring about permanent change. And I know you know what those things are. Reading, coming to the center, taking classes, going to nature, meditating, doing affirmations, doing chanting. Nam-myo, renge-kyo, nam-myo, renge-kyo, nam-myo. If you were in the meditation today, I got to say something about that. Pelly did our meditation this morning, and usually we do a standard meditation. Hello, is come in, relax your bodies, feel the chair underneath you, then in 15 minutes of silence, and then come out. Well, Pelly, because we're talking about change today, changed it up, and we chanted, Nam-myo renge-kyo, Nam-myo renge-kyo. It was wonderful. It was wonderful, and it was change. And at the beginning, we were all like, this is a little weird. But boy, once we got into it, am I right, people who meditated today? It was awesome. It was very, very cool. So we know what to do to make that difference. And then, this is the hardest one. This is the hardest thing to do. We change our thinking in order to change our lives, and then we need to be patient. We need to be consistent, and we need to be patient. Ernest Holmes, we do not change all the patterns of our thought in a moment. Rather, it takes place little by little until gradually the old thought patterns become transformed into new ones by some inner alchemy of the mind, the operation of which we do not see, but the manifestation of which we do experience. Everybody breathe that one in. I'm going to read it again because it's so good. We do not change all of the patterns of our thoughts in a moment. Rather, it takes place little by little until gradually the old thought patterns become transformed into new ones by some inner alchemy of the mind, the operation of which we do not see, but the manifestation of which we do experience. It is by changing our thoughts, which brings to a change of action, which brings a change of life, that true change happens. So I want to close with a beautiful Zen story about change. How many of you are familiar with Zen Buddhism? That idea that we are connected with everything. So the Zen master is in New York City, and he goes up to a hot dog vendor and says, "Make me one with everything." There's more to the story. The hot dog vendor fixes the hot dog, hands it to the Zen master, who pays with a $20 bill. The vendor takes the bill, puts it in the cash box, and closes it. And the Zen master says, "Where's my change?" To which the vendor says, "Change comes from within." And so it is.